What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today, we're going to be talking about Patrik Laine. That's right, former Winnipeg Jet Patrik Laine possibly returning to Winnipeg, right? So, there's been some rumblings from some sources, Mike McIntyre being one of them, Andrew Patterson hearing the same thing. We don't know where they're hearing this from, but multiple people are hearing that the Winnipeg Jets and the Columbus Blue Jackets have been talking about a possible trade involving Patrik Laine. This obviously coming off the heels of Rutger McGroarty becoming available. McGroarty has a lot of Michigan teammates that he played with for the last few years over there on the Blue Jackets. So the Blue Jackets smartly are saying, hey, you know what, we can bring him into the fold. He'd probably sign with us and, get a great player in McGroarty. Now, I don't think it would be a Laine for Rutger trade straight up or anything like that. I think it would be a much larger deal and one that could potentially get very interesting with, a cap and everything. But just the fact that Patrik Laine could possibly be a Winnipeg Jet again is unbelievable. That would be so much fun. I would personally love it. I know a lot of you are smashing your keyboards right now telling me I'm an idiot and saying this isn't going to happen. And it very well, might not. But I think it's worth talking about, especially considering the impact that Patrik has had on the city. The first thing that I thought about when I heard the possibility of Laine returning was, okay, that's really fun, but does he really want to be here? Does he really want to come back? Is that something he'd be open to? Does he even like Winnipeg still, right after everything that happened? And apparently he does. Mike McIntyre reporting that Patrik Laine still holds Winnipeg in high regard. Andrew Patterson, the host of Winnipeg Sports Talk, saying he's heard the same thing. Multiple people are now saying this. It really makes you start to wonder, could this be a possibility? And I'm going to get into, trade scenarios in just a second, but you got to think with the awful years Laine's had mentally and, in his personal life the last few years, he's been through it. With his dad passing away in 2021, being in the Players Assistance Program for most of this season, after being injured twice, it's got to be hard mentally. So it makes sense, bring him back, go back to where you were playing really well early on in your career and see if you can resurrect some of that. Obviously Nikolai Ehlers, one of his best friends here when he was in Winnipeg. That would be a great friendship to have. Maybe it makes Nikolai Ehlers sign long-term, right? If the Jets, still kind of want to do that. Sounds like they do, but Nick right now is a little bit uncertain. He's got other friends here, but again, the locker room definitely different than last time. Blake Wheeler was rumored to be, butting heads with Patrik Laine at times. Paul Maurice, of course, maybe not using Patrik Laine like Patrik Laine would want. Both of those guys are not here anymore. The room is very different. The team is very different. And I wonder if he'd be, again, more open to coming back to Winnipeg with the locker room different. Now, I know there's going to be a few of you guys saying that, hey, Patrik Laine sucks now. Why would the Jets want to bring him back, right? That's a big risk. But one thing I want to point out is, yes, while there is a risk injury-wise, Patrik Laine right now, in his last couple of seasons playing with Columbus, has actually looked really good and has been almost a point-a-game player for the past two seasons. 56 games played in 21-22, he had 56 points, 26 goals. Pretty impressive. Columbus in 22-23, 55 games played, 52 points. Again, very impressive. His defensive numbers went up that year as well. In his time in Columbus, he has turned into a pretty decent two-way forward. Like, he's not going to be a god defensively or anything. He's definitely not winning a Selke trophy or anything. Don't, quote me saying he's going to be doing that. But Laine has been definitely more impressive on the defensive end for Columbus. And, this past season, of course, only played 18 games due to injury and going into the player assistance program. Didn't look particularly great, but did anybody on Columbus? Not really. So I still believe there's a player in Patrik Laine. I still believe there's a 60-70 point guy there. And if Winnipeg can make a swing, I think it would be totally worth it. So here is my trade proposal that I've come up with myself where I think this would be pretty entertaining. Rutger McGroarty and Neil Pionk sent to the Columbus Blue Jackets for Patrik Laine at 25% retained and Damon Severson, defenseman. So I know a lot of you are going to sit here and say, okay, well, why would Columbus want Neil Pionk? I don't think they really do, to be honest with you. But Pionk only has one more year left on his contract at, just under $6 million. It's digestible. They could get rid of it. The Jets need to clear some cap to bring in some cap with Laine and Severson. Now, where it gets interesting with Severson is that he just signed a deal with the Columbus Blue Jackets, an 8-year deal, may I add. He's got 7 years left on it. But he does have a no-trade clause. Now, a lot of you are going to say, oh, he doesn't want to come to Winnipeg. Why would he want to come to Winnipeg? I can't confirm that he does, but he's from Brandon, Manitoba. I didn't know that until like 20 minutes ago. So that is pretty cool. Would Damon Severson want to come back to his home province and play for the Winnipeg Jets? Would he waive his no trade clause for that? Maybe he would. I think this is a great trade for the Winnipeg Jets and the Columbus Blue Jackets. I think both teams come out with a win here. Columbus acquires Rucker McGroarty, who's a dog, can probably play in the NHL this season, will be playing likely with some of his, best friends that he played in college with. So they get him. They do get Neil Pionk, who will probably only be there for a year. Maybe they even end up waiving him. I don't know. David Yurchek, obviously a very good prospect that's going to be getting some time this year, I imagine, with the Blue Jackets. So maybe Pionk's a third pairing guy. Maybe he's the second pairing guy while Yurchek develops on the bottom pairing. I don't know, but that's just, the situation there. Patrik Laine comes into Winnipeg, probably going to be playing in the top 6, I would imagine. And then you also bring in Damon Severson, who's going to round out your top 4 on defense, probably playing with Dylan Sandberg, behind Morrissey and DeMello. So I think that's a very interesting trade proposal. I think it's one that Columbus wouldn't mind doing. They're in a retool right now. They've already, mutually agreed with Laine that they're going to be looking for a move this year. Of course, Don Waddell, the new GM there in Columbus, has a blank canvas to work with, but I'm sure he does want to shake it up a little bit. I don't think, he wants some of these big contracts that Jarmo Kakalainen had signed before. Wouldn't shock me if David Severson is a guy that he wouldn't mind parting, especially for a player of the caliber of Rucker McGroarty. But that's just, my trade proposal. I think it's a pretty good one. I mean, you can add a little bit more on the Jet side if you really want to. You maybe throw in a mid-tier prospect there. But I think it's pretty fair, with the contract that the Jets are taking on there and, what Columbus is getting in Rucker McGroarty. But that's just my thoughts on the situation. This offseason, I believe, is going to be a pretty crazy one. The Jets still trying to work out a deal for Sean Monahan. I really hope that falls apart. I really don't want Sean Monahan back. I just don't think that's the move the organization needs to make right now. I do believe that Nate Schmidt will be bought out. Neil Pionk may be moved, maybe bought out. We'll see if he's not included in this deal that I just, made up here. So I think it would be pretty interesting. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Patrik Laine returning back to Winnipeg. I know a lot of people would love that here in the city. And I don't know. I think it'd be great for a lot of reasons. True North trying to mend fences with its fan base after, rocky couple of years. This would be big. I think that this would sell tickets. I think that this would be a great move by the organization. But I just would love to see Patrik Laine come back to Winnipeg. So many great memories of him here early on in his career. Of course, the hat trick and the overtime winner against the Leafs, against Austin Matthews. The 18 goals in November by him. He was awesome. Winnipeg is good, quote. Like, this guy owned the city when he was here. And I would just love to see him come back. This would be so awesome to have Patrik back in the city. I know some of you are going to disagree once again, but hey man, you can't deny it. This would be awesome. But that's all I got today for you guys. Happy draft day. Leave a comment down below. Will the Jets trade into the first round of the draft? Will they trade for Patrik Laine? Will they acquire a top 4D today? I don't know. Maybe this video is irrelevant by the time you're watching it. Who knows? But that's all I got. Thanks so much for watching. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. See you in the next one. Go Jets go. Bye-bye.